There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I'm beating every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing everything on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up with a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. The Sims Bustin Out was developed by Maxis and released in the US December of 2003. Meant to be a bigger version of the original Sims game, The Sims Bustin' Out released on the GBA, GameCube, Xbox, and even a version on the N-Gage. Reviews were favorable, citing that it was definitely bigger and more robust than the original, and it even had two modes of play, free mode like the original Sims and Busting Out, which had clear goals to complete. Can I beat this real-life simulator? The Sims Busting Out is an interesting little game because it's not your normal Sims game, although you can play it somewhat like a normal Sims game. Instead, it has a very clear goal to get to the credits, and that's to have your Sim go through a job all the way through 10 promotions, and when they hit the 10th promotion, you just win. This is a good thing for me, but a weird thing for a Sims game, because it feels like we should be having a much more loose, general goal that allows you to do what you want when you want, rather than making me feel like I should be doing these specific things so that I can get to the end. Now, obviously, anyone can just sit down and play the game how they want, and you can eventually get there by moving slowly and building up different places that you move into, because most of the time you'll be moving to new houses so that you can get new promotions. But that's the thing too, is if you want to get new promotions, you must move a lot. So I don't know, it's just a weird feeling for a Sims game. So here's the journey through Sims Busting Out, and it begins with me creating a character. I try and create someone who looks sort of like my wife, I guess, because I'm not really good at character creators. I don't know who to create or how to do it, so I just try and pick someone I know, and, well, my wife's the easiest one to know how to make. So I make her, and I decide to name her My Ass, because someone said her first name defaults to Pat, so it's Pat My Ass. So welcome, Pat My Ass, to The Sims Bustin' Out. After we create our character, we are in an actual dream for our character, who is living in her mom's house. Right now, we're allowed to go over and kiss this dreamy-looking guy on a dance floor, and eventually our mom wakes us up and says, "You're dreaming, dumbass." We get control of our character, and we have two different screens. We have the pause screen, which allows us to look at our goals, our options, to buy stuff, to build stuff, to look at our job, and then the actual game itself, where things are running and you're taking care of your Sim. Now, this is very similar to most of the other Sims games. You need to watch her needs, things like using the bathroom, eating, going to sleep, having fun, and then you also need to balance getting those promotions, because that is our goal in this game, is to get 10 promotions. So the first thing the game wants you to do is your mom screams at you to get a job, so you must get a newspaper and look through it for jobs. There are only so many jobs to choose from, which means that there are only so many lines of promotions that you'll get, and each one comes with different stat point necessities, as well as friend necessities that you'll need to get as you get promoted. As you go through each job, you will need to do certain things to get those promotions. The first job line I pick is fashion, and fashion needs you to do things like get your body in shape, be more charismatic, and have a lot of friends. And the points you get in those stats, body and charisma, stay, but friends don't. In this game, friends degrade. You have to keep your friendships up with those people by talking to them and making sure those points are high, and those points go from 0, or actually negatives, to 100, and once they're at 100, they can't go any higher. And at about 50 points, they are your family friend. That's what you need. You need at least 50 points for them to be a family friend, although you'd probably be better off trying to get it to about 70, 75, so that when it decays, it doesn't just immediately decay into not being your friend. And the game will let you know, too. To keep friendships up, you can't just let these things go by, otherwise you're not going to have friends. So get those points up as high as you possibly can, then leave and hope that you can do enough stuff before their friendship decays and it counts towards your promotions. Now, you can look at all of these different sets of goals when you move into a place, and they will give you new things to do, like new interactions with other Sims, maybe it'll give you money, and maybe it will unlock new things to buy and build in your houses. Because you don't just stay in one house, you don't build your own house or even just move to your own house, you move to other people's houses. You start at your mom's house and you slowly move up in your friendship game, I guess. I don't know how you meet these people. It just says to move there. But once you move there, the houses get bigger and more lavish. You get more money, and other things can happen as well, until eventually the whole idea is that you move into a mansion. Now, the guy who owns the mansion has been coming around to the houses you move into and stealing things, saying that you guys aren't worth this stuff, and then he runs off. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he's the mayor. I don't know who. I just don't know who he is. Like, every time I see him, I'm confused as to who he is. He always comes up, steals a couple things when you move in, and then leaves. You can replace them if you want, but there's no actual need to replace them. You don't need to replace those things. Your only goal is to make sure that your sim is happy enough to get the promotion, has the stat points and the friends, and goes to work to get the promotion. That's it. You don't actually need anything specific unless it is helping you. During this time, you'll also find yourself visiting friends because you can also visit other places. Now, you only have so many places you can visit, and as it gets further in the game, there are a couple places called Free Street or Free House or something like that, and it's just a house with people who live in it. That way you can make more friends, and that's cool and all, but none of these people matter, and it's just kind of random. I mean, they didn't even give them names, the house a name. It's just like Free Street, and you go there and you make friends, and there's like 4 of them, so you can take your pick on whoever you want to make friends with. Once you are living in a place, you have control of your main sim here, and in this place, this is Mimi's place, the second place you'll live in, you'll move to from your mom's house, the very first place. You can put whatever you want in the house or take whatever you want out of the house. Now, the caveat is that when you eventually leave, because you must leave to get a promotion, for some reason you must leave and live in a new place because those places allow you to get the new promotions. It's like a new challenge. Once you leave, you either get or have to pay money based on what you had when you were in the house. So if you replace a bunch of the stuff in the house with more expensive stuff, they actually say, thanks for replacing all my stuff, here's some money to repay you. Or if you took too much out so that you got yourself a lot of money, you owe them money. And you can go into the negatives, I think. At the very least, you go to 0 and it really screws you. So you've got to be careful. You have to replace things and make sure you leave enough so you aren't losing all your money when you move to a new house. Because you'll need the money to get new stats by buying things that help those stats go up. So the loop here is keep your sim happy, make sure they get the stats up they need, and they go to work. Now, this isn't all though, because it is still kind of difficult to figure out what you need in the moment, and it's annoying when you move further on, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the journey here is kind of weird, because yes, you can talk about what happens in each of these places, but honestly it's the same thing. I'm trying to figure out how to balance getting my sim happy and the stats up and going to work, and making sure that I can get those promotions. Obviously, I'm here to beat the game. I'm not here to stick around and do all these extra things. So with that goal in mind, I try my best to beeline right for those promotions, and it is not easy. I think it probably would be a lot easier if I didn't have this goal or I wasn't working towards it in such a fashion. I'd be able to just slowly build onto houses, make cool friends, and do cool things with the sim, and eventually get those promotions. And I think that's what a lot of people will do. They'll enjoy just the process in general, whereas I was going for it very quickly. And it's not necessarily as fun, so keep that in mind. As I said, you will be increasing your sim's stat points, so you'll need to buy things that do just that. You'll need to look at your job track and promotion line to see what you need to actually increase. And once you figure it out, you can just increase those stats to a fairly high level so that you never have to worry about them again. Once they're there, they're never decaying, and you'll need a certain amount in certain ones. Like fashion needed my body stat to be very high, practically needed to be full. So I just worked on that until it was full and moved on to the next one. Because once you're done with those, like I said, you're done. You don't have to worry about them. You can then focus on friendships. The hardest part, in my opinion, of the actual game, keeping friends. During some of the different jobs, you need a certain amount of friends. The one with the lowest amount is the one I will talk about soon. But for right now, on this playthrough, I did the fashion one, and that one needs a lot of friends. I think I needed 6 friends at promotion 6. I didn't even get to promotion 10 in the fashion line, and 6 friends is a lot. There are a lot of people that you can go visit, and all the people in the houses you are in, including your mom, can be your friend. But you need to make sure that those friendships don't decay. You can call them on the phone, you can host parties, you can go visit them, or you can go live with them to make it easier if that's what you need to do. And I just don't like that it decays. I mean, I understand that they want you to keep it up, right? Like in real life, if you just don't talk to your friend for a while, unless it's a very good friend, then you probably will lose a little bit of that, light in your friendship. And so in the game, that's what it's trying to reflect. But it makes it very difficult here because you can't always just get to everyone to fix your friendships. In fact, when I beat the game, I was practically running on someone who is at 50, which is the lowest you can have an actual friend at. And if she had gone from 50 to 49, I would have lost a friend before I got the promotion. And luckily, I didn't. I didn't lose it until just after I got home from the job and the promotion and beat the game. But it's really close because there's so many people you need to be friends with. And it's not easy. It just isn't, man. Even talking to people. Because don't forget, everyone has different likes. And when you have your sim walk up and talk to someone, you can have them talk to them, compliment them, give them a back rub, hug them, dance with them. You can even have them pull your finger. You can do all these different types of things when you talk to Sims. You have to figure out what they like and what they don't like. Because if you start doing things they don't like, it's obviously going to just decrease your friendship meter. So you got to find the quickest way to get high up so that you can get on out of there and go make another friend. This is not the only obstacle though, because for some reason they decided to make it possible once you start moving into further homes, like this one, which is the second home after Mom's house. You will now have control of another sim. I don't know why. One of these people here is another sim you can control. By pressing R2 or L2, you can cycle between the sims available to you, even though they do not matter in the end. In fact, as far as I can tell, anything that sim does, no matter how upset they are, no matter how many times they miss their job, no matter how many times they live in squalor and filth and never clean up after themselves, they're just fine. They don't really affect your game. Maybe they do. Maybe I just didn't let them get bad enough. They didn't hit rock bottom quick enough. But they are annoying because suddenly you have control over a sim doing things, and there's several in the house. And yes, you have control over them, but why would I? I have one singular sim that I need to do special things with. It's already hard enough. Well, the good thing about this is that you can switch to that other person regardless of what's happening, and as long as they aren't dying of their needs, you can make them clean up, you can make them do certain things that your sim shouldn't be doing so you can actually spend that time getting stat points or making friends. You can also make friends with the sims you control in the other houses, and this is actually easiest because you switch to your sim and then have her select talk. Then you switch over to the other sim and make sure they don't leave the conversation for one reason or another. Because they're controllable, you can stop them from leaving the conversation to go get something to eat or go to bed. You can then have them talk to your main sim over and over as your main sim pretty much just does what you say. They do have free will and you can turn that on and off, but I do not suggest turning it off because it turns it off for all the other sims, and you need that on when you don't want to control all 3 sims or 4 sims in a goddamn house. So you need to leave the free will turned on for this part, but at least it's easiest to clean up messes and talk to your sim and making friends, which is actually fairly helpful. It also makes it easier to understand what that person wants in a friendship because, like I said, people don't like certain things you do. So switch to that sim, see what their options are with your sim, and then you know what is going to be helpful in a friendship, which is kind of cool actually. During this time, you're going to be going to work. Every day you have to go on a bus to go to work, and you actually have the option of skipping work. It's not advisable to do it too often, but if you skip work once every other day, you will not get fired. And I found this out. Someone talked about, hey, you can probably skip your job a little bit without getting in too much trouble. And I thought, hey, what if I just do it every other day and see what happens? I did it for many days in a row and nothing happened. So that's a really helpful thing. And I'm going to tell you why. Because your needs are sometimes difficult to deal with, especially when you don't have expensive items in your house to get those needs up quicker. That's something you're going to have to do. You're going to have to buy expensive things to get your needs up faster, or you won't have enough time to even get stat points or go to your job or make friends. So once you're able to afford decent enough stuff, then you'll be able to be happy enough to actually go do those things. Now, at the bottom left, you can see on my sim, there are 4 pips to the left and 4 pips to the right of her portrait. The ones on the right turn green as she is happy, and the ones on the left turn red when she is upset. You need pips in the right, the green ones, so that she is happy enough to actually go to her job and get the promotion. If she doesn't have at least 1 or 2 pips in happiness, she's not going to make the promotion. She just won't get it. Also, it will be harder for her to want to do things like make friends or work on her stats if she's upset. So you need to take care of that. You need to make sure it's always in the green if you possibly can. That's why the more expensive items helps with that, because things move faster going up when you are trying to get your needs up. So, it's not just about getting sleep, which is nice. It's about getting less sleep for the same amount of sleep so that you can get up and do more stuff, which is crazy, but that's what you got to do. Other than that, the game is pretty simple. You just need to control your sim, get the promotions, and you hit the end of the game. But, like I said, since it's not so easy to make friends and keep your needs up and get those stats up, it's a bit difficult. You find yourself in this kind of loop where you're almost too low to get the promotion and almost high enough to get it, and you just can't eke out those last points or be happy enough to go to your job. And even with skipping every other day, I found it very difficult to do anything. Now, at this point, I had an idea. What if I move from one of these new places back to an old place that's a little easier to handle? One of the first houses I go to in this playthrough is Mimi's house, and Mimi is not a character I can control. She is just another sim, which is good because that's one less person to worry about. Also, her house is small, there was plenty of space, I had enough money, it wasn't a big deal when I was living there, which is really nice. These new places are also doubling as not just houses, but this one specifically is like this little art museum in the front. So it's weird. But Mimi's house was a good idea to go to keep my needs up and to get my stat points up. But then someone suggested, hey, why instead don't you move to Mom's house? And I was like, oh yeah, you can move to Mom's house. And they said, well, I think the bus for work just doesn't show up at Mom's house. And I was like, really now? Really? So we moved to Mom's house. I moved back to Mom's house and built myself a little addition onto the side of the house where I was able to have my own bed, my own room, all my own stuff, so my mom quit friggin' using all the stuff that I needed to use when I needed to use it, because, man, she just likes to use everything you want to use, like the bath, the shower, the toilet. She even wants to use the TV. I found her dancing at the jukebox, which would have made my character happy, for 24 hours straight. And here, look, my mom is in my room, outside of my little bedroom, playing my guitar. I don't know what she's doing, and you have no control over her. She is an enigma. She doesn't need to do anything but do what she wants. And sometimes that's not eat for 24 hours, not sleep for 24 hours, not go to the bathroom for 24 hours. And then the second she's done dancing at the jukebox for 24 hours, she pisses herself and falls asleep in it. I don't know what her problem is, but there's no bus for work. That means you never have to go to work. So you can sleep when you need to, you can eat when you need to, go to the bathroom, get your skills up, and it's actually fairly helpful. This is what was helping me beat the game in a normal amount of time, because, otherwise it would take me hours and hours of just slowly getting this stuff up. And honestly, that's not a terrible thing, but it's nice to know that within the game, a very easy thing to do, just move back to Mom's house, you can actually make it a little easier on yourself. Now, you don't lose your job because of this. You just don't. The second you move back to another place, you can just start back up at your job the next day. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is get everything I need for the next promotion, get myself to be happy, move back 1 hour before the bus would arrive for my job at another house. When I get there, it'll say the bus is arriving in an hour. It will arrive and you get on and go to work and get a promotion immediately. So you can move at 6 in the morning if your bus comes at 7 and then just go get the promotion. That makes it a lot easier to progress through the actual goal of the game, if that's what you want to do, is only progress through the goal. Sadly, a tragedy struck me here. The save file for Sims Bustin Out was corrupted. And what happened was I recently got a MemCard Pro 2 and had not set it up correctly, and something happened to it. Something that actually some people have had problems with before. I'm not sure why mine had a problem, but I have since fixed this. But since I lost the save, I had to start over. And this time I decided to have a plan instead of just going all willy-nilly and hoping for the best. I actually had a plan, and here's what I did. I started up a new file, started up the same character, and decided instead of leaving Mom's house at the beginning of the game, I'm going to stay there until I have the stat points I need for my job. And I also decided to choose a different job. I saw that the jock job, just the job called jock, had the least required friends to actually complete the promotions. I believe it was 6 people total for the 10th promotion, which isn't actually too bad. It was 6 friends for the 6th promotion in fashion. I can't imagine having around 10 friends by the time you finally get that last promotion. Man, it was already hard enough getting 6. So I decided, all right, it's time to stay at my mom's house, take my time, get my stats up. A couple things here, because I didn't realize this was going to happen. No one even knew this was going to happen until it happened. I started up Mom's house in 2 things. First, you are welcome to sell anything in the house, remove any walls you want, and do any modifications. Like I said, you'll have to pay the person back when you leave eventually, but if you put enough money into the house, well, it's coming back and you won't have to pay anything. So just pay attention to what you need to do. In Mom's house, she has a rug in the front living room that's worth $8,300. So you just sell it. And then you have enough money to make the addition and get everything you need to do all your stats. Yes, this will put things at risk a little bit, but once you make enough additions and just buy what you need, because here there's an interesting part after this, just buy exactly what you need. Once you make all the additions, you can then replace some of the appliances with more expensive models, eventually leading to you not having to really pay Mom that much money. And yeah, you'll have 0 money going to the next place, but the whole idea is to go to the next place when your job starts, get money, and you'll be just fine. So, you sell the carpet, build the addition, get all of the things you need for your stat points. As I was moving along during this time, I hadn't left the house yet, I had chosen my job, and I had made the addition and was working on my stats. I realized something. I hadn't slept in 2 days. My stat wasn't even going down. The need for sleep just never went down. The need for a shower never really went down. The need for a couple things never went down. And I realized we are still technically in the tutorial. If you accept a job and get to the point where it says you need to move out, your mom will request that you move out many, many times, but you will not be forced to. And for some reason, in the tutorial, so that you can get used to the game, several of your needs do not decrease, which means you don't have to sleep, which is actually the biggest thing here. Yes, not having to take showers and stuff is nice, and not having to relax is nice, but not sleeping is an 8-hour commitment you now have to do stat points or anything else you need to do. And I think it's because the tutorial doesn't have those things go down, so you have plenty of time to learn. That way, if you're worried about what to do, you can stay here for a little bit and practice and maybe get a couple things up and then move out. Unless you know what you need, then you can just stay here and increase those stats over and over and over. Now, on top of this, your mom also paints pictures, and if you have a job that you can make things at, like this painting here, or the woodworking thing where you make the little gnomes, you can actually sell stuff and get money, because right now you're not going to a job. All you're doing is getting your stats up and living happily. So if your mom paints paintings and you make gnomes, and you guys can sell them for a little bit of money and make that money back. You can even buy new stuff with that. And not that it's necessary, I really didn't do it that much. I did sell my mom's paintings sometimes, but it was never so much that I needed to. Really, it was just to recoup the losses I was gonna get from leaving here once I built everything. So it was fine. I spent this time working out constantly, doing the mirror to get charisma, and then making some friends along the way. Obviously, my mom was my friend. I kept her at 100, which helped my social stay up, and I had a pretty much permanent friend. It's kind of cool you can get your mom to be your friend and just stay that way. So once I got my stat points up as high as I needed them to be, I decided, all right, it's time to move out and start getting my promotions very quickly. And that's exactly what happened. Now, there were a few times where I needed to go get a stat point I didn't realize I needed, such as down the jock line, you need cooking. so I needed to learn cooking. I also needed to get a point or two in mechanical, which is fine, it wasn't that hard. I was already so far ahead that it didn't matter. I was very happy, I had all my stat points, and friends were pretty much easier to come by now because all I had to do was focus on that. And again, anytime you move back to your mom's house, you can skip work. So eventually you'll go back to mom's house just for a couple days to get your happiness all the way back up and to work on some friendships, because you can still visit people when you live at mom's house. Then I would move to the new place, quickly get 2 promotions in a row, and then leave back to mom's house to get myself happy again. Then move to the new place just in time for the next promotion and go. It made the game about a third of the way shorter. Honestly, the game probably would have taken about 15 hours had I done it the other way, but because my save became corrupted and I happened to find out that the tutorial just allows you to stay at your mom's house and do whatever you want, it made it way easier. I didn't even have any foreknowledge of exactly what I needed for the job line. The only thing I knew is that it needed less friends than fashion. And I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. Sure, I'll have less friends. It needed a lot of other stuff, but I was able to get that stuff at mom's house. So that's fine with me. But I was able to recoup from my lost save and get the promotions. I was desperately trying to, that last promotion, make sure I had enough friends. And I was constantly checking the little pip that shows how your friends are. And I always had like 4 or 5 friends. That 6th friend just never stayed. So I had to force it through doing some weird stuff like drinking espressos so I didn't have to sleep, so I could stay out and talk a little longer. But then I'd have to go to the bathroom, so I'd have to run to the bathroom in their house when I visited. And then I would just do my best to absolutely skip any days of work I could and make my sim as happy as possible, foregoing everything else just in the nick of time. And then I was able to get that last promotion by moving to the mansion the guy who's been stealing our stuff lives at. Apparently our mom just kicks him out of the mansion, I don't know how, but now you live in this mansion, and I don't know where the guy is, but this place seems like it's way easier to live at, but it's the last place. It's the last promotion you get, and because it is, I was able to get the promotion immediately. I didn't live here for any more than 2 seconds when I started just moving in here, and then the bus showed up and I went and got my promotion. So I'm sure living here would be much easier, but I didn't need to because I finished the game. So that's it. You must get yourself through all these promotions and try and work around the needs of your sim, the friends, the stats, until you eventually get those promotions. And that's it. Game is over. Game number 103 beaten. And it was a weird game. I give it a C because it was still somewhat fun. I liked that it felt a little puzzly. For me at least, it felt like I had to figure out what I needed to do next. And honestly, finding out that mom's house affords you a ridiculous amount of free feeling of just do whatever you want with, you don't have to sleep, nothing like that. That's kind of cool. I didn't hear it from anywhere. I just thought, well, why not just stay at mom's house at first? But that also feels like it ruins the game a little bit, right? Like if my save hadn't been corrupted, I would never have figured it out. But it was nice that I was able to get back to my point where I was before much quicker and then beat the game. I probably would have beaten it another stream or 2 after the save had been corrupted had it not been corrupted, but it's nice to know that I was able to get there again in a decent amount of time, sadly losing my save, but still able to do it, and it was a lot of fun. It was kind of cool figuring that stuff out and just trying things. I mean, at what point do you not just try stuff, right? Like leaving your job, not going to your job every other day. That's kind of cool, and it worked out, and I never got in trouble, and you just kind of fudge things until they work out for you. In fact, one time I even died in a fire. It was just a crazy little time. I mean, it's very mundane once you're there. All you do is select your sim to eat, go to the bathroom, take a shower, watch some TV, watch them work out on a weight set, whatever you want to do, and then you just have them go to work. So a lot of that time is spent watching time fly by as things move up and down and you have to balance them. It is fairly boring for me. I don't think this type of game is my cup of tea for sure. I definitely would be picking more actionable games, much more, action-oriented games. But again, it's not a bad game. The way I played it, though, does feel like I missed a lot of stuff. There's still many things you can do in this game, but I didn't do them because I hit the credits. That's all I needed was this. There's nothing else. So, with that, thank you so much for watching this video. It was kind of long for what felt like an interesting explanation, I suppose. So thank you so much for staying this long in the video. Thank you to anyone who is a membership of Patreon or YouTube or Twitch. Anyone who's donated, you guys are making it so very, very possible to do all these games. It would be possible without that, but it's making it so that the channel has a lot more fun things to do, and everyone gets to pick the things they remember when they were younger, and they get to see games they've never seen before. You know, those games you like to play but just don't have the chance. It's really cool, and I really appreciate it so much. I can't really say thank you enough, and thank you to people like Hightower who've been sending in games. It's just amazing. So thank you guys so much. Also, thank you to the people who in the stream helped me figure some stuff out in Sims, and we all learned some stuff together, like the little mom trick at the beginning. It's kind of cool that the tutorial just lets you have no needs going down, you know, like it's just, you gotta eat. You gotta eat and use the bathroom, but that's about it. That's all you need to do at mom's house is eat and use the bathroom, which sounds about right. So thank you, everyone. I'll be back for video 104 soon. Later.